I thought Multiverse of Madness was going to be the maddest multiverse movie of the year. I think I was wrong. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. I'm still giddy. Can't wait to talk about this movie. Today we are talking Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's a brand new A24 film. You know what that means. It's going to be a very different movie. But how different is this Multiverse of Madness? Promise. That's my last reference. So, an aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she can save the world by exploring other universes, connecting with the lives she could have led. This movie, it's not like anything else you're going to see in the theater. I can't wait to talk about it. First, we have to talk about the rating. It is rated R. We have violence, sexual material, language, a little bit of smoking, some things in there that are going to make people feel really uncomfortable. So if you have kids, this may not be the one for them to watch unless you want to trip them out, then sure. Oh, Daniels, our directors here, bringing us another movie that people are going to be talking about. The first film was Swiss Army Man, at least that I saw from A24, and it took me on a journey. I wasn't entirely there on the movie as a whole, but I definitely enjoyed certain elements. So going into this film, I expected it to be maybe that level of strangeness, but what I didn't expect was to have such a comprehensive story told to us in an exotic and vastly different type of way, with so many unique styles, genres, and ideas at play here that if you sat me down at a table and explained to me in a meeting saying, okay, here's all of our ideas for one movie, we're going to put it together and create a cohesive experience, I would have laughed in your face and said, I don't know if you can do that, but hey, we're A24, we'll try anything at this point, as long as it has a good script. And you know what? I believe this is one of the best screenplays, scripts, series of ideas that they have ever given to us. Now, you may laugh a little bit if you've seen the movie because there are so many ridiculous moments and elements in this movie, but they work so well and they come together to create such a unique experience, unlike anything else you will ever see in the theater. I can promise you that. A few movies come to mind when trying to describe what this movie is going for here. The first is Swiss Army Man, their prior outing, but the second is a film that I wasn't all there on, but now after thinking about it, maybe I need to go see it again. Sorry to Bother You, where ideas come into play within the third act of that movie that turn it into something else in its entirety. But in this film, you take some of those wild and exotic concepts, but you throw them into the first act. Then you really throw them into the second act. And the third act is a combination of elements that I never thought I'd see on screen. How about Scott Pilgrim versus the World? Whether it be that frantic pacing at points that still works, but also that inclusion of strange, at times uncomfortable humor, but you're still laughing, you're giggling, you're chuckling, even though part of your brain is slightly confused. That's how I felt during Scott Pilgrim. Still loved it. That's how I felt during this movie. Someone at my screening made a comparison just looking at a few of the action scenes and the over-exaggerated elements, and you're going to laugh, but I thought it was a great comparison. It's actually Sucker Punch. But don't focus on that story, just focus in on certain action scenes that utilize visuals and showcase over-the-top movements and slow motion. All of those things come together in a film that revolves around a couple of things that I did not expect. The first big plot point here is family.
I got family.
Michelle Yeoh plays Evelyn, who is living not her best life, but literally her worst life. She can't seem to get anything right. It feels like she's doing everything wrong, and all of these things are culminating and creating a series of stressful events that we see her going through at the beginning. Her husband, Wayman, is not helping her at all, even though he's trying his absolute best. He's like the sweetest guy. She cannot take this anymore, but the cherry on top seems to be her daughter, Joy, who is providing her with the opposite emotion, nothing but stress, and then her father, who she just has to take care of. She has to take care of everything and everyone, and she just can't do it any longer. But in the midst of a visit to the IRS, she is visited by an agent from another universe who tells her that she is the key to everything. What is he talking about? What's the actual mission to save the world here? Are the stakes really that grand, or is this much more of a personal story? That's for you all to figure out. I don't want to go much further when it comes to detail, but what I do want to talk about is from there, the story begins to combine elements and combine so many different ideas and styles together that creates for the most fun, 2 acts of a movie that I've experienced in so long in a theater, not only because the audience was loving the way this movie was playing out, but I'm a big fan of off-the-wall type humor, something that can feel so unnatural yet fits so firmly into the themes that whatever movie or TV show I'm watching establishes at the beginning. And from the get-go, this movie establishes a pacing going from one location to the other, very frantic, because that's the nature of our main character. She's just trying to get everything right. I was enjoying the first act before any of the madness starts to happen because I just really like this family, their dynamic, their relationship, lack thereof at points, which causes conflict between them and sets us out on a wild, multiversal adventure that spans the universe and shows us so many variations of all of our characters and all of these different locations that utilize their own specific stories per location. Have I lost you yet? Well, let's keep going. But each version of our character or characters brings something new to the table that all comes together and almost becomes too much. I mean, this movie was on the verge at points of just being too much here. There's a lot of things happening. How am I going to balance all of these different storylines? What is the core motivation of our villainous presence here? There is a character and there's a motivation, and that is uncovered as we go throughout the movie. But that's one thing I was struggling with in at least the first 2 acts. I'm like, what is pushing this character to do what they are doing in this movie? And how is Michelle Yeoh's Evelyn going to save the world? But then we start to uncover kind of how she's going to go about this, tapping into abilities and ideas and thoughts from the other versions of her, from other universes, combining all of those skills together, right? There's a lot of rules here, a lot of rules that we have to follow, even though it doesn't feel like a movie that follows any type of rule. The fact that this movie can throw so much at us at once, so many ridiculous jokes that come back around, and even though they seem so silly on their surface, they are going to have you bursting out in laughter. There is no joke, a scene in this movie with absolutely no audible dialogue, very little character movement. There's really nothing happening on screen, even though it is a nice visual, and if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Ended up being one of the best scenes in the movie because that's just the type of film that it is. It can rip emotion out of whatever visual or conversation they are showing us or allowing us to be a part of, because we care so much about the characters, but also because it's a series of rules that basically says there are no rules, so everything is on the table in this movie. Characters are going to make insane decisions. They're going to do things that at the time make very little sense, but it always comes back around. If they tell a joke in the first 30 minutes of the movie, pay attention because it will inevitably come back. That's just the type of screenplay that it is, and I absolutely love the attention to detail in this film, spanning genres, spanning styles, the framing, the cinematography, the visuals in general. It is all so top-notch, taking anime influences, references galore from Ratatouille to 2001: A Space Odyssey to Rick and Morty to Kung Fury, and also taking styles from all of those things as well. Phenomenal action scenes. I mean, some of the best hand-to-hand combat I've seen in so long. It's actually quite incredible what they were able to do, and I've not even looked at the budget. I just assume it is a bit of a lower budget, but maybe one of the higher budgets for an A24 film because they made a spectacle out of a couple of these moments. It's an acid trip of a movie. If you do anything along those lines and you go and watch this film, you'll probably have the experience of a lifetime. I'm just saying. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying. Action, adventure, comedy, fantasy, sci-fi, but it all rides on the shoulders of the cast. Michelle Yeoh is, I am not kidding, she is Oscar-worthy in this movie. Stephanie Hsu started out like, okay, she's just playing a one-dimensional daughter character. No. She is phenomenal in this movie. She is also awards-worthy, in my opinion. Evelyn's husband, Evelyn's father, her IRS agent, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my God, the duality of Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in this movie. The cast is top-notch. Everything about this movie is top-notch. My only major criticism with the film, other than the fact that maybe it is trying to do too much, and at times some of those ideas can get lost. The emotions always come back into prominence, especially in the third act, but some of those ideas just go away and never return. My other thing is, I don't know if this is going to be for everyone. Actually, it's not going to be. I know people in my everyday life, if they watch this, they would laugh at me and say, what did you just recommend? First of all, that's A24. But this film may be different because there is so much at play in terms of spanning genres. I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to find something. If you don't like humor that goes a bit too gross, if you don't like elements that are too ridiculous, sure, but I think it's more accessible than it seems like on its surface. That's all I'm saying. Before I give you guys my score, I want to say thanks for tuning in to this review. Appreciate you big time for watching. If you liked it, drop that thumbs up. The algorithm appreciates it. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is literally everything. This film blends countless genres, storytelling techniques, and styles of humor together to create a unique experience. The level of detail is just ridiculous, and the journey is unlike any other. Thank you, A24. I'm going a 92% with my score. I'm pretty sure everyone that walked out of my theater had a blast. It was the talk of the town, at least the talk of the theater after the movie was over, because we were the only ones left. That makes sense. I'm just so impressed with the Daniels, the way that they brought this together. It's almost an impossible feat, but they did it. They pulled off the impossible, and they managed to do everything, everywhere, all at once. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.